Ladies and gentlemen, Diddy denied $50 million bail again. Gina Huynh comes out from hiding and writes a letter that gets ignored by the judge. Was Donald Trump watching? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like some cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I start dropping some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be the little bell notification right below this video. Like I said, once again, welcome everybody back into the chat. Shout out, wait a couple other people come in here and I'm going to get right into it. We got Ann and Lee. What's happening? Fatima's in the house. Always a pleasure. Universal Ask. Rodney 3121. And shout out to all the people who are watching outside the chat, because we got more numbers watching than we got people in the chat. So we know y'all watching and we appreciate y'all too. We're going to wait for a couple other people. Gerald Piper's in the building. Wait for a couple other people come through and we're going to get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Very important day. We're going to see what the chat got to say about this today, too. Diddy denied bail again. One thing I want to say, and starting this video off, ladies and gentlemen, because the last live that I did, we had people come into the chat. A shout out to Rob M, Frank Finesse. What up, though, Detroit? What's good? Shout out to all of the folks that's in the chat already. Before I get into this, Corey Simmons, what's good? Yeah, we're going to get into that too, Corey. More importantly, the last time we went live, we had people come from over Tisa Tell's channel and tried to tell us that the judge had made his decision. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can go and you can look it up today, right now, as we talk, the judge made his decision today, ladies and gentlemen. The judge did not make his decision the other day. Once again, we know for a fact now, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that Tisa Tells is a liar. Tisa Tells is a liar. As a matter of fact, she tried to jump on this already and saying that bail has officially been denied, if you've seen her latest video, because she knew she lied about it a couple of days ago, on Friday, if you will, right? And so now it's bail officially denied. Once again, Tisa Tells is not someone who you want to listen to and get your information from. She will tell a lie as fast as a fly can fly. And like I said, once again, when you understand that, it's not even about being truthful, it's trying to be first. And sometimes being first and being wrong, and not just being wrong because you made a mistake, but being wrong because you deliberately wanted to be the one who delivered the information, and the information is wrong, and then not accept the responsibility for being wrong and just keep pushing the gossip. And now all of a sudden there's a post today in regard to the bail. Diddy's life is in danger. Ladies and gentlemen, Tisa Tells does not know nothing about Diddy's life being in danger, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely, positively nothing. She's not in the jail. She's not, connected to nobody that we know of or any real sources in regards to that. But like I said, on Friday, when we did the live, we had people coming over here trying to tell us that the judge had made a decision already, and the judge just made the decision a few hours ago, ladies and gentlemen. So we know for a fact, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that Tisa Tells was lying. And she wanted to be first. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some of this straight game. First off, Gina Hunt Virginia, her real name is Virginia Hunt, right? Wrote a letter. I thought it was she was trying to be as candid as possible. Let's make no mistake, I cut no corners. I know that Diddy's still taking care of Gina Hunt. Yeah, I know he's still taking, just like he was paying Daphne's Joy bills while she was on stand testifying against him. You know, the most ironic part about this is, and they tried to cover it in court when they asked the question, but they didn't really ask the question. They didn't ask the question like this. If Daphne Joy hated Diddy so much and she felt like she was mistreated that much, why would she allow Diddy to still pay her bills? You understand what I'm saying? For all of the people who say that it wasn't about money, you know, it was this, it was that. If you done with somebody, right? And see, you got people that make up these surreptitious ass excuses based on their slanted judgment on how they see things, right? But you can see now clearly with Gina writing a letter to the judge and basically the letter being ignored. So we're going to get into, like I said, you know, we're going to bring the raw, the real, and the righteous, straight game, no chaser. If you're new to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you never miss none of this straight game, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to get into it. This exclusive insight, right? Today's episode is a curveball that none of us saw coming. Like I said, there were three things on the table. There was the bail, right? There was the basically throwing out of the conviction, and there was the new trial. The other two have not been voted on yet, as we know of. So that's still outstanding, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with that. But today, not Friday, as Tisa Tells was lying about, today the judge made the decision not to grant Diddy a $50 million bail that he was requesting once again. So listen, Gina Hunt, yes, the same Gina Hunt, Sean Diddy Combs' former girlfriend, former accuser, and until recently, an alleged victim number 3, right? In the federal case, she submitted a letter to the court defending Diddy, asking the judge to release him on bail, right? Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Got to let it sink in. That's right. Look, we're going to break it all down right now, because you know how a brother might see his sister get into some kind of altercation with her boyfriend, and some brothers come to the rescue and, you know, might have it out with the boyfriend. They might fight or whatever, talk or whatever, and defending his sister. But then shortly after that, the sister go right back to what would be considered this loser, woman beater, whatever it is, when they get into the altercation, ladies and gentlemen. It could be viewed that way, in the sense that the things that Gina Hunt went online on social media and talked about in reference to what Diddy allegedly did to her, right? Now, Gina wrote a letter to the judge, and she was honest. I mean, like I said, I don't think that she was, you know, disingenuous with the things that she was saying, right? You know, let's get into Gina Hunt. Gina Hunt is no stranger to Diddy's world. She's a model or influencer, repeatedly dated the music mogul from around 2014 to 2019. Over the years, Gina has publicly accused Diddy of emotional, mental, and physical abuse. In fact, in interviews dating back to 2019, before Cassie's 2023 lawsuit, ladies and gentlemen, right? Gina claims she was coerced into terminating 2 pregnancies, and that she stayed because, in her words, she loved him. Okay? So that's her. And like I said, I won't get in front of her words and what she said. She had said this before, so her writing the letter does not surprise me from that perspective. She was supposed to be victim number 3. For some reason, she backed out, didn't want to testify, and kept it pushing. and now pops back up now to basically write this letter on Diddy's behalf, basically saying yes, that he made some mistakes. So check this out. So imagine the public shock when we learned that on August the 3rd, Gina submitted a letter. Listen, on August the 3rd, Gina submitted a letter directly to Judge Subramanian, the same judge who presided over Diddy's recent federal trial, asking that Diddy be released on $50 million bond. She did that. She stood 10 toes down and 2 feet deep and wrote the letter that was sent to the judge on August 3rd, ladies and gentlemen, right? Gina's letter to the judge. Let's get into it. Now let's talk about what Gina actually said in the letter. Cause she didn't sugarcoat nothing. She like I said, 10 toes down and 2 feet deep. So quote, this is a quote from the letter. Despite his mistakes, this is what Gina said, despite his mistakes, Sean embodies an energy of love, patience, and gentleness. She added that Diddy acknowledged his faults and has worked to become a better man. She even said, to my knowledge, he hasn't been violent in many years and has been committed to being a father first. This is what Gina's saying, right? Let me pause right there, right? This is the same woman prosecutors said Diddy was violent toward while he was simultaneously in a relationship with Cassie Ventura, right? Remember, Gina was supposed to testify at trial, referred to anonymously as victim number 3, but pulled out at the last minute. This about face is confusing at best and highly suspicious at worst, right? But nevertheless, it's Gina's business that she felt like, yo, you know what? They came and got me. I don't know what they listen to this. I don't know what they told Gina in regards to her having to testify. I'm sure Diddy paid for her lawyer, like he paid for Jane's lawyer. And who else would accept a payment for their lawyer because they didn't have any kind of defense themselves, defense attorneys defending their rights when the feds came to them, basically saying, hey, 1 + 1, 2 + 3 and all of this. I think that Gina could naturally, why she was able to bow out was because I don't think from anything that she testified to that she participated in any freak-offs. I could be wrong, right? But from what she was talking about, she said she terminated 2 pregnancies and so on and so forth, and a bunch of other allegations, right? But she was supposed to testify at trial. She backed out. Prosecution didn't seek her out, try to make her testify, or do any of those things. So that was her business to do that. Okay, cool, right? So now, let's look at the judge's response and the bail denied again. But check this out. But here's the kicker, right? Look, just a day later, Judge Subramanian, after, we on the 4th, she submitted the letter on the 3rd. Judge Subramanian dropped the gavel on Diddy's hopes and denied the $50 million bail request again. In his official response, the judge said, Diddy fails to satisfy his burden to demonstrate an entitlement to release. The judge speak for, you're not convincing me, you're still not the danger to society. Hold on, look. So basically, judge speak, basically saying that Diddy's not convincing him that he's still not a danger to society, right? Now, let's be clear. I don't know if someone wants to determine for the rest of your life, and this is where it confuses me at. If someone wants to unilaterally say for the rest of their life or whatever they feel about you, right? You know what? I like him, but I'll never trust him again. I don't think he's going to ever be able to convince me that he's trustworthy again. This is anybody, right? So when the judge says, that Diddy fails to satisfy his burden to demonstrate an entitlement to release, that's judge speak for, you're not convincing me you're still not a danger to society. how do you convince somebody that you're not a danger to society if they won't let you back out in society? You understand what I'm saying? Now, once again, let's deal with the charges at hand. The charges at hand are two convictions for the Mann Act. Now, that's transporting people across state lines for the reasons of prostitution, right? I understand the video that they played in court. I understand all of the testimony that Jane testified to, Cassie testified to, the video at the Intercontinental. Ladies and gentlemen, the video at the Intercontinental was 9 years ago. 9 years ago, right? The situation involving Daphne Joy, aka Jane, the situation, she initiated violence towards Diddy first. Diddy, in kind, he responded, which I don't think he should have, but he did. That's what, like I said, somehow, some way, Jersey Rick, thank you, man. Somehow, some way, Jane wasn't being held accountable or chastised or criticized for being violent towards Diddy because she was jealous in some way, shape, or form in regards to Diddy being with Young Miami, right? Right? Then, like I said, when you understand that, it doesn't seem like it's being fairly weighed. But he's Sean P. Diddy Combs. Like I said, a number of other situations they're looking at. And like I said, this is the crazy part. Because even if you're not guilty of something, people still, if they want to think that you're guilty of it, they still try to hold you responsible for that. Right? So even though that Diddy wasn't found guilty of sex trafficking and coercion, fraud, and all of these other things, and running this international sex trafficking ring, and all of these other things, right? It seems like he's still being held accountable for those things, even though he wasn't convicted of it. That's just the appearance that it shows to me. Like I said, once again, the statement that the judge made, Diddy fails to satisfy his burden to demonstrate an entitlement to release. The judge speak for, you're not convincing me, you're still not a danger to society, right? Now, I want you to understand the judge cited prior testimony, especially that of witness known as Jane, who claimed Diddy choked her and dragged her as recently as 2024, while fully aware of an ongoing federal investigation into his conduct. That incident, paired with the explicit freak-off videos shown in court, was more than enough for Judge Subramanian to shut down his latest attempt at freedom. Now, once again, that's the reason why I mentioned the situation with Jane, right? Once again, she said she initiated that violence. So when they say, and that's the part that's missing in that argument. So if she said she admitted, I slammed his head, I pushed his head up against the marble counter, and I did all of these things, for some reason, that's not given the same weight as him, which what Jane said, choked and dragged her as recently as 2024, throwing bottles, throwing glasses, and all of those things. So like I said, once again, this is the crazy part about why we deal with situations and we see things optically how we see them, right? So this is what this is what he cited in regards to that. And he has a right to his opinion. He's the judge in the case, right? While Diddy was fully aware of an ongoing federal investigation into his conduct. Well, I'll say this. You can't tell me whether that happened, because we know that Jane said she initiated the physical violence in that situation. And listen, up until that point, Diddy had never been violent to her. Up until that point in their whole relationship from about 2020 or 2021 to 2024, Jane said that Diddy had never been violent with her, point blank period, until she initiated violence on him on that particular day, right? So like I said, once again, when you look at things in totality and you want to be fair and so on and so forth, I understand where the judge is coming from. Like I said, he has a right because he's the judge in the case. You got to respect that. But more importantly, the bigger picture is this. Let's look at the full weight of what that is. Jane said he had never been violent until she was violent towards him. Right? Okay, cool. Once again, you're talking about grown adults who were in a relationship together. Let's take the drug use. And I like to do this because we forget sometimes how we want to judge people, right? Let's take away the money. See, money is one thing. People look, let's take away the money. How many people know people that was on drugs and alcohol that were violent towards or may have heard violent towards their wife, girlfriend, family members, or whatever. Sometimes the father to the kids, right? Because he was an alcoholic, he was a drug addict. He would come home, he would hit my mama, he would do and so on and so forth. Not me personally, but how many people that know people like that, right? Okay, cool. You take away the money, you take away the fame. Diddy's a regular dude. He was on ketamine, cocaine, drinking, drugs, all of that. I look at him, to be perfectly honest, he was a dope fiend. You know what I mean? Mine is having all that money. Diddy is yeah. If he did have a little bit of money at that particular time, yeah, he out there, he doing pretty bad. Remember, the girl Jane testified that said, hey, you know what? You need to go to rehab. You need to get yourself together. Because she said that he was looking like he wasn't taking care of himself. His teeth was yellow, his eyes was yellow, and looking jaundiced and so on and so forth, right? So now, as a judge, if I'm looking at all of this, I'm looking at all of that. I'm looking at, man, look, you know, you could look at Diddy and like I said, people can look and say, well, damn, you know, look at him and say, well, you know, yeah, he got all his money. A lot of people are jealous based on what they're looking at as far as finance. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like, yo, I don't care who you are. Like I told y'all before, we seen drugs take Michael Jackson. We seen drugs take Whitney Houston. We seen drugs take Prince. We seen drugs take Elvis. We seen drugs take Heath Ledger. We seen drugs take a lot of people. And it didn't matter how much motherfucking money that they had. Point blank, period. You see what I'm saying? See, so the optics of that 1 minute shot, then walking down the red carpet for the movie premiere and all of that, you know, that 15 minutes or whatever you wanted, like that's why they say 15 minutes of fame, because it's about 15 to 10 minutes that we get a chance to witness all of that other than watching award shows. But for the rest of the evening, man, it's hell on wheels. It's go find the dope man. It's go call dude up to bring the whatever, the ketamine, the cocaine, the whatever, and they getting high. And getting high 3 and 4 days. You hear the sex worker dudes over on the Art of Dialogue telling you, dude, they up 3 and 4 days getting high. That's crackhead behavior, man. That's crackhead behavior. If anybody ever been in the streets, man, I've seen people stay up 3 or 4 days smoking crack. Now, Diddy and them might not was using crack, but they were on drugs, right? All of them was on drugs. Everybody was taking drugs. Cassie was taking drugs. Gina was taking drugs. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, Jane was taking drugs. I don't know if Gina used drugs or not. But like I said, they all testified to it. You know, everybody that came into the orbit, it was like it was a thing that they would do. The dude who was getting the drugs, who got caught with the cocaine at the airport, basically, you know, he said he was getting high too. Some of the assistants was getting high too. You know what I mean? And so understanding that, this is what I understand. So I would hope that during this time, even though Diddy got denied for bail, and I'm speaking the real, I would hope that he takes this time to become truly a better person, right? And really understand that, hey, man, you know what? I had the world at my feet, and I was on my way out. Because, like I said, remember, what we forgot, most people not, Diddy overdosed. We ain't know nothing about that, though. Remember, he overdosed. Cassie overdosed, too. Right? Cassie overdosed, too. The dude, Clayton Howard, he basically testified. He talked about that over on the Art of Dialogue. Got it, like I said, I want to be truly informed. I don't want to tell you what you want to hear or what I want you to hear, right? You got to understand what I'm saying to you, right? So now, when the judge decided that, the judge cited prior testimony, especially that from witness Jane, who claimed Diddy choked and dragged her as recently as 2024, while fully aware of an ongoing federal investigation into his conduct. That incident, paired with explicit freak-off videos shown in court, was more than enough for Judge Subramanian to shut down his latest attempt at freedom. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Let's pause right there. If the judge, like, let's say, for instance, prior to sentencing, we're like, okay, when the judge hands down the sentence, right? And he says, whatever his conclusion that he comes to as far as sentence is concerned. And the judge said, you know what? If he ever thought that Diddy was able to basically convince him that he's still not a danger to society, what could he do? What could Diddy do to show the judge that he's not a danger to society? What could he possibly do? You know what I mean? And so when the judge says that, you know, give the man some kind of guidance, right? And say, hey, you know what? This is what I expect you to do. This is how you can prove to not only me, to yourself, to society, that you can, you know, we need to get you in some kind of program, some kind of drug program, some kind of outpatient treatment or something like that. You know what I mean? Real talk. I ain't talking about no money. I'm talking about human to human. Not, this Diddy and da-da-da-da-da-da, all this whole other shit. We talking about real life, right? So that's the thing that I see lacking here from the judge's decision when he makes that decision. Hey, lay down some groundwork. You know what I mean? Because most judges, in most situations, if you in trouble or something like that, they do that. They say, hey, you know what? I think you really need treatment. I really think you need some kind of abuse program, some kind of domestic violence program, or something like that, to be able to get. And once you complete these, right, then come back and see me, and we can talk about it, right? If the Bureau of Prisons doesn't offer that, then how could Diddy possibly get into any kind of program where that would help him out? This is what I'm talking about. When you're talking about being truly rehabilitated and trying to help him rehabilitate, right? So once again, I understand where he's coming from, but I don't know really, truly, honestly, where this is going. Let's be real. Diddy is now in a very awkward and unpredictable position. On the one hand, the most serious charges, the sex trafficking, the racketeering and conspiracy, he beat those. But he was convicted of other Mann Act violations, right? For transport individuals across state lines for prostitution. Once again, when you look at the facts of the matter is transporting what? Individuals across the lines for prostitution. Who was transported across state lines? The Mann Act does not cover men. Despite being called the Mann Act, it's not about men. The Mann Act was named after a senator, right? With the last name, last name was Mann, M-A-N-N, right? It wasn't about a man per se. Now, understanding what that is and what that means, you got to understand this. Check this out. So now, that's what he was convicted of. Let's deal with what he was convicted of. People can come into court and say, well, yeah, he was this, he was that, he was this. And they could tell you about all the things that somebody did that they didn't get caught for. So based on what they telling you that he didn't get caught for, you're judging it based on that, right? Or based on the totality of what he was convicted of versus what he was charged with. You get it? He convicted of two, what's the names of the Mann Act? All of that other personal stuff, you see Gina, she wrote a letter saying, hey, you know what? He made mistakes, blah, blah, blah. You know, she was supposed to be victim number 3. She didn't come to court to testify. Here's somebody who was a victim of him, right? Basically saying, hey, you know what? This is what it is. But it's ultimately the judge's decision, right? So now the prosecution is recommending 4 to 5 years in federal prison, including the 11 months he's already served. But his team is still pushing for bail, a new trial, or even acquittal based on what they claim is a misuse of the Mann Act. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the facts, the fact of the matter is the people that were allegedly being sex trafficked, because he wasn't convicted of that, right? That were the male sex workers. Point blank, period. They are saying that over on the Art of Dialogue right now. They're saying that we were the ones that were sexually trafficked, not Cassie and Jane and whoever else, right? These were girlfriends. This wasn't like, oh, he was going to pick chicks out in the club and yeah, we was doing. No, these were girlfriends. So much so that Gina, who was one of his girlfriends, who was supposed to be victim number 3, which they had 3 girlfriends, right? Victim number 3, she's now saying, hey, you know what? And like I said, I don't know if Gina participated in any kind of freak offs or anything like that. I haven't heard anything like that. So I'm not going to say anything like that. But here's Gina saying, hey, you know what? I went through some things with him. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know what? Talking to him probably on the phone and them conversing or whatever, that he's probably rehabilitated himself. Like I said, this is what she's saying, not what I'm saying. So now, prosecution asked him for 4 to 5 years. The defense basically is saying, hey, you know what? We want a new trial and even acquittal based on the claim that a misuse of the Mann Act, right? Listen, and you got to understand this. Listen, but this Gina Hunt development, regardless of whether it's genuine, manipulated, or strategic, adds a layer of complexity. If she's backtracking because of regret, pressure, or something more calculated behind the scenes, that's the question we all need to be asking, right? Bringing on what's the change of heart that she's having in regards to her coming out. Like I said, once again, we've seen it time and time again, women be involved with guys and they're in volatile relationships and violent relationships, and they keep going back. Like I said in the beginning, when I started to talk about this before, I asked the question, well, why didn't Cassie leave? Right? Most people's like, well, Cassie said it in court. I wasn't ready yet. Excuse me. And so when she decided to leave, then she left. Okay, Gina. Here's Gina. Well, Gina basically went online and said some of the things that she went through with Diddy. Now, we got to ask ourselves, why the change of heart, right? She has to change her heart. She's writing the judge a letter saying, hey, you know what? He made some mistakes. You know, I still love him. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that Diddy probably still taking care of her financially, right? But, so that raises the question. Let's say, because the speculative thing to think is, well, is it genuine? Is it manipulated? Is it strategic? You know, it adds another layer of complexity, which it truly does. You know, Gina, they're saying Gina, well, she's backtracking because of recent regret, pressure, or something more calculated behind the scenes. I want you to understand this. If they're questioning that about Gina, they didn't even ask that question about Jane. You see the hypocrisy? If they're questioning that about Gina, they didn't question it about Jane. You say, well, what do I mean? Well, they're saying, well, if something going on behind the scenes, what? Diddy was paying her bills still? Well, Diddy was paying Gina bills up to the tune of $10,000 a month while she was on the stand, basically still testifying against him, right? But nobody questioned what was going on behind the scenes in that happening. You get it? So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, why is Gina coming up and testifying, you know, and writing this letter to the judge? You know, Diddy must be doing something behind the scenes. Well, you got to ask the same question about Jane. Well, why is Jane coming and testifying? And damn, she just admitted that Diddy was still paying her $10,000 a month rent. You see what I'm saying? So once again, depending on what side people are on, they want to argue it from both sides. The main question is, right? So if we're taking anybody's word, we took Jane's word for it, we took Cassie's word for it, right? But Virginia Hunt is her real name. Gina coming in basically saying, hey, you know what? He made some mistakes. You know, being a part of what that was, and us having our altercations and him, you know, being violent towards me before, you know what I mean? I think he's changed. Not number one. Number two, once again, Diddy, I don't know if he can get high in federal custody, but hopefully he been really, you know, taking it serious, you know, being drug free and getting his mind right. Because like I said, once again, I don't care who you are. You locked up, you away from your family. It's the little shit that matter. You can't go to the refrigerator when you want to. You can't go to the bathroom damn near when you want to. You know what I mean? You can't get nothing to eat when you want to. It's you can't turn the TV to what channel you want to. It's just those little things, man, that really that get to you. You know, you can't use the phone when you want to. You know what I mean? You can't take a shower. Just simply take a shower. You know what I mean? When you want to, you know, your privacy's gone and all of those things. So hopefully, you know, Diddy is trying to gather as much of himself while he going through what he's going through right now as he can. But like I said, but when we question, well, why did Gina write the letter? Then you got to ask them, well, why did Jane come testify? Because he was paying her $10,000 a month rent while she up on the stand. She living comfortably. He in the jail cell. You know what I mean? So let's not get that skewed, because a lot of people will do that. They be like, well, yeah, he must be paying her. But shit, he was paying Jane too. But she wouldn't testify, so that didn't stop. So what happened there? You know what I mean? What was the big thing there? Oh, they threatened to lock her up? See, once again. So the motives and why people do things, and they also gave Jane immunity. Right? Why did they give her immunity? They didn't really need to give her immunity. She wasn't being sex trafficked. It was the male sex workers. They were the ones that were being sex trafficked. They were the ones that were being paid. They were the ones being paid by Cassie. Right? Jane was using freak-offs as leverage in the relationship, talking about, yeah, he did X, Y, and Z. Like, nah. She was like, yeah, that was the first time I used that card. What card is that? The defense asked her. Well, you know, told him that if he didn't come back off of the, see, and this is where the violence came in, right? If he didn't come back off of the vacation early with Young Miami, that she wasn't going to give him the freak off with two guys for Valentine's Day. And Diddy came back, right? They asked her. She said, well, yeah, that was the first time I used that. So once again, there was a lot of manipulation and coercion going on. I don't think it was actually going to, Diddy thing was pretty straightforward. Y'all dealing with him, he taking care of you, car, rent, money, everything you needed to, but you know how he liked to get down with the freak offs. He liked to see you get hit by another dude and watch that, and that's how he got his thing off. Okay, cool. You with that? All right, cool. Everybody was cool with it until they weren't. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that we're looking at here now. But more importantly, when you sit down and you really think about it, man, the people who were being sex trafficked was the guys that were the male sex workers. Those are the guys that were getting paid, right? The Mann Act was designed to stop prostitution, right? And the financial gain from prostitution, if you will, right? Across state lines. Who was the prostitutes? The male sex workers. Who was getting paid? The male sex workers. Was Diddy deriving any kind of monetary gain from that? No, right? So that's the reason why I look at it the way that I do. I'm like, okay, but like I said, once again, you can skew it to fit whatever argument that you want to skew it for, right? But like I said, somebody who was involved with Diddy, basically saying, Gina basically saying, hey, you know what? I think he should be let go. I think, can you let him out on bail? Now, will the judge consider that doing the other arguments, doing sentencing and all of those things? We'll have to wait and see, right? But check it out, though, right? So listen, the legal clock is ticking. Let me tell you something, family. All my straight gang folks, JP6 Gunner, Bad Bunny, Andrew Jones, who else? Winter's in the building. Who else is that? King Phillip. Who else? Kane, what's happening? Fatima, what's good? Janet Story, Killer Ride 123, Alicia Butler, and all the people outside the chat. Like I said, I appreciate y'all listening. Look, listen to this though. I want you to. You got people running around saying that Diddy's gonna run. What the prosecution is basically saying that he's an escape risk. He's a flight risk, right? A flight from what? If that was the Yaya kids, what's good? Always a pleasure. If that was the case, listen to me. If that was the case, if Diddy was a flight risk, he would have been gone already. Diddy, listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Diddy rolled the dice. They offered him a plea deal. He said no. Diddy rolled the dice and he beat the feds. He rolled the dice and he beat them. They had 6, he had 10 lawyers. You understand what I'm saying? So all of this speculative talk about Diddy's a flight risk and all of that, like I said, it hasn't been proven. Nobody can show you anything where he tried to run. You get it? So this boogeyman stuff, like, ooh, he's a flight risk. You know, that's the same thing they did to us as African Americans. You know what I mean? You know, when you get on the elevator with the little white lady and she clutch her purse. Because in the media, we are depicted as the big, black, mean boogeyman, right? You understand what I'm saying? And so, like I said, once again, you can do that. You can do that, but there's no proof. Just like the judge saying there is nothing that he can see as of right now to that has been shown to him that shows that Diddy's entitled to bail, right? There is nothing that has been shown to the judge when the prosecution argues that Diddy is a flight risk. What's been shown? He was supposed to turn himself in. He was there a couple of days before. They locked him up the day before. He was supposed to turn himself in. But you don't get no credit for that. You only get credit for the negative shit. You see what I'm saying? Or the negative depiction of who they want you to be when they want you to be that individual. Right? So that's why I say I always reserve judgment. I mean, you just don't know. You know, people say any goddamn thing nowadays. You know what I mean? Like I said, you got to look at it from both sides. The Gina argument and the Jane argument. Well, why Gina come up write a letter now? Well, shit. Well, she probably being paid by Diddy. Well, let's go with the Jane argument. Well, why is she up on the stand testifying against Diddy? And he's still paying her $10,000 a month bail. The reason why was because she was coerced by the federal government that if she didn't testify, they was going to lock her ass up too and charge her with sex trafficking. Why? Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to me. I want you to understand this. She would be locked up too and charged with Diddy as a co-conspirator for sex trafficking. How could they charge Jane? How could they give immunity to Jane? What would she be charged for? Or they said that they was going to charge her from the one time that she admitted that she was transporting drugs. What? What? Or whatever. So if they would have charged Jane Daphne Joy with sex trafficking, think about this for a minute. Who would she have been sex trafficking, ladies and gentlemen? This tells you what the government knew. If they would listen, they gave immunity. They gave immunity, and I believe they gave immunity to Cassie too, but that was never asked of the defense. But they gave immunity to Jane. Listen, they're saying because she transported drugs one time, she admitted to transporting drugs one time, right? That is far-fetched. For whatever reason, yeah, I admitted, yeah, I did whatever, but they was prescription. I mean, she could have told any kind of story about that. But if they told her, say, well, look, if you don't testify about what your participation was in this, we're going to charge you with sex trafficking and drug distribution. Huh? Well, if she was supposed to be a victim, then why would she need immunity? Right? She was a victim. If she was a victim, why even give her, she didn't even need immunity. Why? Because the threat was made. You see what I'm saying? So now you look at Gina. Gina was like, well, I don't think they had nothing on Gina. So Gina didn't testify. Gina was like, I'm not testifying. I'm not even going, why am I testify? They ain't got nothing. And whatever was going on between Gina, she had already talked about on the internet. And so her talking about it on the internet was, suffice enough. It's like, okay, yeah, Diddy, I had 2 pregnancies. He made me abort the babies. We got fighting. He kicked me, whatever. What all of the stuff that she admitted to was him being violent toward her too. Let's keep it 100, right? So now, the violent tendencies of Diddy, from that perspective, they're looking at. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, he was not convicted of a violent crime. You understand what I'm saying? He wasn't convicted of violence. And like I said, I understand what people say. Yeah, man, but that in the Continental video, yeah, Cassie and Jane, and what Gina said, yeah, That's who he is. You know what I mean? That's who he is. And even so much that that's who he is, Gina Hunt, someone who suffered violence at the hands of Sean P. Diddy Combs, is now coming and saying, hey, you know what? I think he's rehabilitated himself. I think he's showing me, and I'm sure they're probably talking on the phone, he's showing me that he's better than himself now. You know what I mean? I think he really understands the shit that he really misses right now sitting in that jail cell. Because those are the things that really, truly, honestly happen when you sitting behind them motherfucking bars. Anybody could come tell you anything, right? Unless they've been behind them motherfuckers. And especially with all of the resources that Diddy has, private jet, mansions, all of this money and all of that. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't mean nothing if you ain't right with yourself. Like I said, Michael Jackson had all of that. He's dead from drugs. Whitney Houston had all of that. She's dead from drugs. Right? Heath Ledger had all of that. He's dead from drugs. Prince had all of that. He's dead from drugs. You understand what I'm saying? So we talking about life and death. People so busy and talking about, if I had the money, that shit don't mean nothing, man. Right? So now, the big picture. Right? We got to understand. Let me tell you something once again. This ain't over. Diddy's sentencing is locked in for October 3rd, ladies and gentlemen. And the feds are not backing down. His legal team is throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Bail motions, letters of support, and now this push for a retrial. But the judge isn't budging. And Gina's letter, while unexpected, didn't move the needle at all. It didn't move the needle at all, once again. So you can only ask, well, if somebody who suffered at the hands of Diddy can't speak up and help to move the judge, what's this really all about is the question. Some people say, well, the judge is biased. That could be one thing. I don't know. I really, truly, honestly don't know. I'm not in that man's head. You know what I mean? As to what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. Like I said, me personally, if you're looking at the big picture, I think Diddy needs some kind of real treatment. You know what I mean? I would say inpatient drug rehab, and that's what I would do. If I was the judge, I would be like, you know what? We need to get him some long, I wouldn't say long term, but inpatient drug rehab along with domestic violence counseling, and he wouldn't be able to go home. From that, it would be inpatient. He would have to stay there. He wouldn't be in jail, right? But it would be an inpatient thing. And like I said, that's the test that you give him to see if he's serious. Because if he leave there and he go do something crazy and he go against what the judge said, any kind of mistake slip up, then I'd lock him up, right? This is the first time offender, ladies and gentlemen. I get what they're saying for the Mann Act. That's what the judge. See, this is when the judge is really trying to help out somebody and being, a steward to society and really do that. That's the type of, that you give out. You say, well, you know what? Okay. You can come out on bail. I need you to do X, Y, and Z before your sentencing, right? I need you to go. No. You're not going home. You're going to go to this inpatient drug treatment center, and you're going to, for the next 60 days. You see what I'm saying? And I need you to get down dirty and do what you need to do. Simple. It's not going to be it's not going to be just easy as free him. You see what I'm saying? His defense team fighting for him. But like I said, I'm looking at what the judge is saying, right? Listen to me. Y'all got to understand what's being said by the judge if you really want to, get into what this is. Okay. The judge saying, no, I'm not going to let you out. What did the judge say? Right? Gina Hunt said, despite his mistakes, Sean embodies an energy of love, patience, and gentleness, right? This is somebody who suffered violence at the hands of Sean P. Diddy Combs while he was getting high on drugs and so on and so forth, right? Now, understanding all of that, the judge said what? Listen to what the judge is saying. The judge said, his official response, the judge said, Diddy fails to satisfy his burden to demonstrate an entitlement to release. That's judge speak for, you're not convincing me you're still not a danger to society. Pause. Now, the question should be asked is, well, Your Honor, how can I convince you? Right? Okay. The judge, the lawyer should say, you know what? We have an inpatient rehab ready to accept Mr. Combs as of right now, Your Honor. Domestic violence, drug rehab, he can't go home. He can't leave the premises. Point blank, period. He has to stay there 24/7, 7 days a week, right? And we're going to have him on ankle monitor when he go to the program, right? Okay. So now, if the judge says no to that, then the judge really doesn't, there's nothing he can show you. This is what I'm talking to. Most people that you've never dealt with the court system, man, you got to understand. I understand where the judge is coming from, right? Offer up some kind of inpatient drug treatment program. And I think the defense has offered that up. But it ain't going to, like I said, where the judge is standing at right now, it's just not going to work with, yeah, Diddy, $50 million, the money, da-da-da-da. I get it. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. You got to understand that. So if the judge is saying that, Your Honor, tell me what it is that we can do. Like I said, we got an inpatient drug treatment program. They got the Betty Ford Clinic. You got a lot of places, here in California, I'm sure in Florida, whatever, that are willing to take Diddy, you know what I mean? He gonna pay for it and him go into an inpatient drug. And listen, that's the true test right there. You got to finish the program. You finish the program, you come back to court and we'll evaluate you then, and then you're free to go. You see what I'm saying? This is a first-time offender. That's what the judge sound like he's saying, but he's not offering up. He's not offering any kind of straws or olive branches or anything to help Diddy to better himself. That's what I feel like. You know what I mean? Real judges that really truly care about the situation as it stands, that's what they offer up. You know what I mean? And if you find a program that's satisfactory to the judge, you bring it back in front of the judge, and the judge say, you know what? I agree to this. Get him some kind of help. You know what I mean? Because people thinking, oh man, give him 5 years, give him 10 years. I'm okay, cool. That's for people when you're dealing with the underlying of what was testified to in court, the drugs, the domestic violence, all of that shit. You got to deal with that before if you think that him going to jail going, summons all of that. Oh, seeing the video. Oh yeah, he should be in jail because he hit Cassie. Yeah, he should have been in jail the day he hit Cassie. He should have been in jail when the police came to the hotel and asked her, do you want to file charges? She should have said yeah. But in the perfect world, she didn't. Because the world not perfect. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that people are failing to grasp at, man. Well, you say JP6 gonna say Cassie's attorney already wrote the judge? Absolutely. Well, what? Let's see. You say you can go watch the defense team was on. Let me tell you something. China G, check this out. I want y'all to understand something. Listen to me, man, and I want you to. Sometimes you ever hear somebody tell somebody, man, if you ever heard somebody tell somebody, and it sounds crazy when they say it because jail is looked at as one of the worst things that you possibly could go through. You ever hear somebody say, man, when they got locked up, that was the best thing that ever happened to them? If you're in the chat right now, if you ever heard somebody say, if them being locked up was the best thing that ever happened to them. I'm waiting for the chat right now. Tell me, if you give me the thumbs up signal if you ever heard somebody say that them going to jail was the best thing that ever happened to them. Kiana Carver said yes. Brian Dow says maybe the best thing. JP6 gonna, right. All right, listen, check this out. So now, for Sheila Johnson, China G said yes. Check this out. Now, ride with me on this for a minute. And I'm going to speak Donald Trump coming to give Diddy a pardon. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we even look at Tupac's situation like that. Check this out. I'm gonna give you parallel things. Look, Tupac, right, going to jail for the situation, knowing it was bogus with the situation, and him fighting for bail, getting out on bail, right, and accepting the bail of what we thought at the time was Suge Knight, but came from Warner Brothers and Interscope Records. When we dial and pull the onion back, we see where the bail came from, right? Now, understanding this, and as much as we love Tupac, as much as we care and all of the things, you got a lot of people saying what? Tupac would have been better if he just stayed in jail and never took that bail from Warner Brothers and Interscope, or what we thought at the time was Suge Knight. Am I right or wrong? I want you to digest that for a minute. So now we're in front of this Diddy situation, because most people say that if Tupac may have not taken the bail to deal or appear to be under death row, he would still be alive. That's how much we love and wanted to see what we wanted to see from the situation involving him. You have a lot of people saying that Tupac was better off. I've seen it because I've done a many videos, as you know, about the Tupac situation. Now listen to this. Check this out, because I see a lot of people, right now saying, yo, Trump come get Diddy, pardon him, whatever. Listen, everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen, right? Whether Diddy do time, whether the judge says, you know what, Mr. Combs, I like how you responded. When I didn't let you out, you seem like, boom, I'm going to give you time served, and I'm going to give you 3 to 5 years probation, with treatment, with this, and these other things that you need to do. The judge may very well do that. He may keep him locked up until the sentencing date, tell him, say, hey, you know what, these are the conditions of me releasing you and your sentence. You need to go do this program, and report back to the court. You're free to go today. And in 30 days, you need to be enrolled in these programs right here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Let them go. Now, that's one way, right? That's the long way. That's the long way. That's the Tupac staying in jail way. Staying in jail, not refuse. You're not, not getting, getting the bail. That's staying in jail, sentencing, whatever. Okay. Now, this other way is Donald Trump coming in unilaterally deciding Diddy was treated unfairly. He gives him a pardon, right? Did he really, truly, honestly? We don't know, and I can't say that he did or didn't learn anything. He comes back out, he does some other shit. And for whatever reason, something else happens. That's a possibility. I'm not saying that it can happen or it's going to happen. So like I said, that's why I'm like, whether Donald Trump pardoned him, whether he gets bail, the bail was denied. Okay, now. You got till October 3rd, or the possibility of a pardon. But once again, at the very end of the day, this shit is up to Diddy in his life, because we've seen who he is, partially. We know he like to, he don't mind hitting a woman. You know what I mean? He don't mind beating on a woman. Like I said, we can say that was drug-induced or whatever, anger management problems or whatever have you, right? Okay, cool. We know he got to work on that. You know what I mean? I don't think it's no man's right to put his hands on a woman, especially with the kind of money that he got. He's supposed to have broads, coming and going if he Diddy that run the city. You know what I mean? He ain't never got to do that. It's okay, babe. Okay, you know what? You can leave, honey. I ain't tripping back. Okay, you know what? No, we're not going to do all of that. We're not going to do that back and forth now. You know what I mean? You free to go, right? You know what I mean? But like I said, what come with him is security for most of these women. You see what I'm saying? So even in that power, that tells me that Diddy lost it with them drugs. Because one man, a sober, a sane mind man would understand, hey, you know what, I really don't want to go through all of that with you. Single man, world traveler, 100 million or more. Oh man, You change any woman life you come in contact with, right? So that tells me that something went wrong with the drugs, man. And all that's the reason why I say he need help more than he need anything. So hopefully, like I said, once again, he'll get the help that he needs. You know what I mean? I ain't wishing that he get out no sooner than he's supposed to get out. And hopefully when he gets out, right, that he is a better person, truly, honestly, on the inside than he was when he went in. And even with the judge saying no, hopefully he's processing that right and taking that energy and saying, you know what? Okay. You know what I mean? And I ain't talking about him having to prove nothing to none of us as the public, but actually sitting down and dealing with himself, man to man, and saying, hey, you know what, man, I got some changes I need to make. You know what I mean? I done fucked a lot of people over. You know what I mean? I did a lot of people wrong. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully he can make amends with himself, and hopefully they'll accept the apology that he may offer them one day and become a better person. Because we see the Gina letter didn't budge the judge, right? You know what I mean? If anything, it highlights just how high profile, messy, and politically charged this case has become. That's basically what it shows me. You know what I mean? Shout out to Mar Dizzle, Yaya Kids, China G, Brian Dow, Maya Lunix. What's good? Yeah, Kiana, let me tell you something. I believe he deserved a second chance. Like I said, I've been saying it all along, he deserved a second chance, right? But once again, like I said, in that being what it is, understand this. Like I said, the judge is, did he put himself in that position? You know what I mean? He put himself in that position, and it's like, okay, and for all of the things, and like I said, this is the cold part about the game is, for all of the things that he never been charged with, just like the video incident at the Intercontinental, the situation that Jane talked about at the house. Once again, even though she initiated the violence, right? She wasn't held accountable for nothing. You know what I mean? And they didn't look at it like that. So they only looked at it like how they wanted to look at it when she said Diddy choked and dragged her from that perspective. Like I said, I don't think a man should put his hands on a woman, or a woman should put her hands on a man. I don't think it should be, like I said, if you don't want to be with the person no more, just don't be with her. You know what I mean? If you got the result of putting your hands on a woman or a man, then, you know what I mean? Then you've lost control. You've lost control. Yeah, you've lost control. Point blank, I don't care who you are. Care how much money you got. When you got the result of putting your hands on a man or putting your hands on a woman, right? You lost control. You lost control. I don't care what they say. It's cool. All right, okay, yeah. And like I say, sometimes that power dynamic, right, is what make people do that. If you want to be perfectly honest, Jane, Cassie, Gina, they had that P power, if you understand what I mean by the P power, right? And as we seen by, and you can see by what Jane did to Diddy when he was out with Young Miami. She threatened that she wasn't going to do the freak off with the two dudes. And Diddy, if he didn't bring, she said, you better bring your ass back off that island. And he came back home. So it showed me that they had power also, as well as Diddy had the financial power. You feel me? Remember, when Diddy found out that Jane was doing OnlyFans, he was in his feelings. Why? Because that took away his power of being able to control things monetarily. Right? So if she getting her own money, shit, I don't really need your money. I got my own. You can't tell me what to do. Blase, blase, blah, so on and so forth. You see? So the power dynamic is that thing that makes people do the things. Once again, on the flip side, when Jane said she hit Diddy upside the head and banged his head against the marble counter, right? The power was what? The power is that her power was no longer more powerful than the power of Young Miami coming into the picture. So now she mad, she jealous, right? Because her P power is not as important as she thought it was, because guess what? Just like Diddy met her, he can trade Jane on in, right? He got Young Miami now. Smash. You heard what Jane was saying about Young Miami in court. She was underage and she was this. And the defense attorney said, was she underage? Jane was like, no. She said, you were just saying that because you was jealous. She was like, yeah, I was mad, and so I said anything. See? Once again, people get mad, they get jealous, they say any goddamn thing. Right? But they didn't really want to focus on that. So this is where we are. Bail's been denied. Gina's letter has been ignored. The judge basically is where he's at. He said, hey, Diddy hasn't convinced me that he's still not a threat to society. And so, like I said, there's going to be some kind of rehabilitation that's going to be needing to take place. And it ain't going to just have to do with prison. I would hope the judge would really look at something like that and really bring that home, because then it would make him look, like he's really truly concerned about the whole situation overall. Like I said, there's 2 charges of the Mann Act. Like I said, if we dealing with, listen to me, ladies, you can tell us a little bit more than just these 2 charges. If we're dealing with the 2 charges, right? Okay. Diddy would be out on bail. Anybody else, he'd be out on bail. Right? First time offender. And under the circumstances, not under just under the circumstances in which he's been convicted in the Mann Act, he would be out on bail. The people who were actually trafficked got no attention from the court at all. They set the men up on the stand and they testified, and nobody even gave a damn. Nobody even looked at them like they were victims. Like I said, once again, they looked at the man like, shit, the man can make a decision on his own. He can't be pimped. He can't be, he can't be trafficked. That's the view of society. That's not what the Mann Act was for. The Mann Act was for dealing with women and women being forced into prostitution and taken across state lines, and there being a monetary gain derived from the woman's actions in prostituting. It never had nothing to do with a man. That's why you seen they didn't even deal with the male escort aspect of what the case was about. So Maya Luna said there's nobody railroaded. Dia M. Yeah, absolutely, Dia M. I agree. But like I said, once again, if that's all that a woman's really based in her offering on, is that she can offer a guy, sex, then that's really not much. You know what I mean? That's really not much, because there's always somebody that's gonna come along that can possibly, or in that other person's eyes, she's better than she was, or especially as once they've had you. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the wrong ways, and it's not an asset; it's a liability. Let's be clear. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, Diddy was paying for everything. Paying for the so that's not an asset. You from that perspective, he was paying. That was a liability, paying for their rent, paying for all of that. When you can simply meet a woman who has a job of her own and she's taking care of her own self, and she just happened to meet somebody who has that kind of money that Diddy has. Once again, none of these women, absolutely positively, none of these women had real jobs. From that perspective, that I know of, right? Yeah, I believe, I wouldn't say Diddy's a deviant. I believe that, I think he just likes what he likes. Yeah, he just likes what he likes. Like I said, once again, Maya Lunix. Let's deal with the facts, Maya Lunix. Everybody was grown. Everybody could make a decision. Nobody was being held against their will, right? And from all that I've learned from over on the Art of Dialogue, listening to the guys talk about what was going on, everybody benefited from it, even Cassie, who they say was a co-conspirator. So as much as the prosecution tried to make her look like a victim. You see what I'm saying? So when you understand that aspect of it, then you don't even have to worry about like whether he was a deviant or not. You know what I mean? No, I don't think he was a deviant at all, because it was a common practice. Like most of the women that he was dealing with, that was doing it, is he had long-term relationships. So I don't think he was a deviant. I just think he liked what he liked. And I think they basically they were with it. They were with it. It's just as simple as that. You can try to dress this pig up in Chanel makeup, Shiseido lipstick, and guess what? It's still gonna be a pig, man. Right? Yeah, I would. Who was that? Sporty Doo-Wop. But Sporty Doo-Wop, like I said, we can't relitigate that, right? The young lady, I believe her, what she said, right? Once again, I believe what Shine said, right? But like I said, money and power. And you can look at this right now, what Diddy's going through right now, as partially, kind of suffering for all of the transgressions and things that he's gotten away with. And a lot of people look at it like that. It can be looked at like that. Everybody has their own opinion, and nobody's opinion in dealing with it from a rational, realistic standpoint is wrong. You have a right to your opinion, and you can be right about that. People can say, well, he's suffering now for the girl being shot in the face. Yeah. Like I said, I believe her and what she said and her accounts of that, right? At that particular time, Shine went to do 10 years and kind of was willing to take the fall, got out and said he seen Diddy. Diddy gave him like 50 bands. You know what I mean? Shine was like, hey, man, 50,000. That's all I get for 10 years of my life. You know what I mean? And holding you down. Hey, that's the way the ball bounces. Like I said, you don't know what you're dealing with until you deal with it. So that could be a way to be looked at it too. Like I said, once again, dealing with the violent nature of his past and dealing with these women. That's why I say, he needs some real treatment, some kind of real program where, you know what I mean? And that's what the judge is basically saying. The judge is saying, you haven't convinced me that you're not a threat to society. Well, okay, cool. How do I do that? Right? Now, the judge may deem that jail time is the thing that gonna cure him. It can make him even more violent. Who knows? We would hope that it doesn't. So, yeah. Yeah, Brian Dowell, it could be looked at as reaping what he sowed, Brian Dowell. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't disagree. Like I said, once again, you not going to get me to say, oh, man, Nah. We talking real facts. We not going to do no fluffing it up for Diddy. They said, no, we seen what he's capable of, right? Even in the Tupac situation where Keefe D testified that, I believe Keefe D and what he said. You know what I mean? So, but because I believe Keefe D and what he said, it ain't up to me. Like I said, one will reap what they have sown. I don't give a fuck how much money you got. So if this is part of what this is, I just told y'all what's supposed to happen is going to happen. If this is part of what Diddy's supposed to be reaped for what he has sown and for all of the things that we don't know, it's happening before our face right now. So when people say free Diddy, like I said, you ain't never going to hear me say free Diddy. I'm never going to say that. Like I said, once again, what's supposed to be happening, ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. If Diddy believes in, how Diddy be like, trust in God and believe in God, when he says that, right? If he believes in God and trust in God as much as he said he does, then he's going to trust this process. He's going to trust the process and know that what? That God got him in the end. Let me ask you this. What did Tupac say to the judge when the judge sentenced him? If any of y'all remember that, what did Tupac say? Tupac told the judge, you can sentence me to whatever you want to sentence me to, because I'm not in your hands. I'm in God's hands. That's what Tupac told the judge, because Tupac truly believed and knew, even though he didn't profess that every time he got on the mic or got in front of the mic. Tupac told that at the time of the moment of truth. What did Tupac tell the judge? Shock G said he was in the courtroom. Shock G said that Tupac told the judge what? I'm not in your hands. I'm in God's hands. You can sentence me to whatever you want to, because I'm in God's hands. That's what he told him. So now, once again, everything that's supposed to be happening is happening right now. And if Diddy believes in God as much as he's professed, right? Always put God first. Then guess what? He's prayerful. He's thankful that he's still alive and can see his family, right? And he's taking it one day at a time, hoping that he becomes a better person than when he got into the situation. It's just as simple as that. Like I said, we can't blame the judge. The judge biased. Yeah, I get that. And some people might be. Some people he just might as well be. But guess what? Even the judge has to answer to a higher power, right? Even if he may believe in one or not. Because he's not the ultimate decision on, the life overall, just as it pertains to his courtroom. You get it? And so, like I said, that's where the humility comes in. That's one being humility, the one being humble, that's where that comes in. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about free Diddy. You know how you see people with the shirts when they homie get locked up. Free my homie such and such. And they homie was just out 18 months ago from another crime he committed. And then he went right back to jail again for doing some other dumb shit. Right? Then here they come with the free such and such shirts again. Come on, man. When does a motherfucker it becomes accountable for their actions? You see what I'm saying? And take that accountability and try to become a better individual. Simple as that. Diddy is not excluded from that crowd. Like I said, once again, monetarily, fame, notoriety, all of those things, he's come to earn and have success and all of those things are not to be hated on. But we talking about Diddy. We talking about this personality. But when we talk about Sean Combs, the individual, the person, that ain't got nothing to do with Diddy. And right now, Diddy ain't in jail. Sean Combs is in jail. Right? Diddy was somebody that they marketed, dealing with music and all of that. But Sean Combs right now is the person that they dealing with in jail. All that other shit is on hold, man. Alicia Butler says she's standing on the judge as a group. Alicia, guess what? What we don't do over here at Straight Game, we're not going to tell you how to think. Alicia, you have a right to your feelings. If you want to feel that way, you can feel that way. And like I say, even the people like Winter, she's saying free Diddy, he'll be free. If even saying, free Diddy, he'll be free. Like I said, you can say what you want. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you that. But like I said, I'm never going to say that because I trust the process enough to know that, you know what? Everything that's supposed to be happening, ladies and gentlemen, even in your life right now, everything that's supposed to be happening is happening, whether we like it or not. Even the good versus the bad. So like I said, you cherish both of them on the days that don't look so much up to you. It's all good. You know what I mean? And when days are looking real good and things seem to be popping and going your way, you know what I mean? You count those blessings too. Like I said, it is what it is. Andrew Jones said the judge been paid by them folks. Yeah, like I said, Andrew, you might be right, but I don't know. Marvin Thompson, I respectfully disagree with that. The move played with Gina, I respectfully disagree with that. And the reason why is because she didn't come to testify. So I wouldn't have expected anything else from, her writing a letter and basically admitting that, hey, I went through my trouble with him, and this is the way I feel. I don't think that was something that was up to the legal defense to decide whether that works. Don't forget, the legal defense works for Diddy. Diddy ultimately calls the shots. You know what I mean? He's the one that's paying the legal bill. So if he says that goes, then that goes. So I don't think that when you say that, I think that was a wrong move that they made. It wasn't nothing that they made. It was Diddy decided that was something that he should do, that he probably talked it over with Gina, and she wrote the letter. It is what it is. Yeah, you're right. They say he paid the jury. Nobody knows none of that, man. Like I said, once again, all of it's speculation. Just like the other day, Tisa Tells told us on Friday that the judge had already made the decision. That was untrue, ladies and gentlemen. Please be careful about the information that you digest. like I said, you know what I mean? You want to be enlightened. You don't want to be ill-informed or misinformed or frankly, straight out lied to. Well, no, she can't be charged for anything. What could she be charged for? She can't. Don't listen to me, man. Don't listen to what Tisa Tell's telling you. Gina can't be charged for nothing. If she could have been charged, best believe they would have charged her. So when you, like I said, once again, you listening to this rhetoric, man, you got to really understand the law. Charged for what? She was only going to be a witness as to the things that happened to her violently that had to do with Diddy. That's the only thing that they had her. They did not have her involved with any kind of free calls. So what could she be charged for? Marvin Thompson, what could she be charged for? That was his girlfriend. What do you mean? He was see Marvin Thompson. You haven't really digested. You haven't really digested anything. So him paying Jane's bills while she was testifying against him, was that a payoff to Jane? I ain't got to be a lawyer, Channel Zero. We talking facts over here. Everybody's qualified. If you speaking facts, you qualified to speak. What false statements? Who made false statements? Marvin Thompson. Who made false statements? False statements about what? She told the grand jury what she told the grand jury. It was up to her whether she testified or not. They couldn't make her testify. They didn't have her involved in any crime that they could. That's why she backed out. Man. How? Witness tampering with who? Channel Zero, who? Where? Show me. You can't just see you over here throwing out these speculative theories. Witness tampering with who? Absolutely, Winter. Hey, Winter, you got it. Winter said haters that came into the chat are liars who lie. Laughing out loud. I don't need her. I don't need to read her statements with the feds. I don't need to do that. I know what she was gonna say. They basically said what she was testifying to. She didn't need immunity. They didn't have a crime on her. What are you talking about? See, Marvin Thompson that came over here talking, man, he don't even know what he's talking about. He just throwing out stuff. Marvin, it's not gonna stick, man. We over here straight game. We doing nothing but straight facts, man. If you speaking something factually, man, you got the floor. And we gonna listen. If you right, then you right. I don't want to be right. I'm just stating the facts. Anna Lee, you right about that. Anna Lee said they wasn't reading the transcripts, Delray. It's hard to have conversations with some of these people. Yeah, they don't want to have a conversation. They want to have a dictation. They want to come over here with that authoritarian talk. It don't work. That shows contradictions are one thing, man. Lying under oath and lying to somebody about something is a whole nother. If she got up on the stand, then they can get her for lying, right? Everything that she testified to in the grand jury is what she testified to in the grand jury. She didn't get up on the stand under oath. She said what happened. She said that, yeah, he was violent towards her. She admitted everything, even in the letter. What are you talking about, Marvin? Yeah, she said that. She said that he was violent towards her. He made mistakes. She copped that to the judge in the letter. What are you talking about, Marvin? You want something to happen that didn't happen. You want somebody to be held responsible for something that they can't be held responsible. You need to go back over there to Tisa Tells, man. Go back over there and let Tisa keep telling you lies. Tisa told y'all the other day that the judge had already made the decision on Friday. That was a lie. But y'all sucked it up, you know what I mean, through the straw and thought it was fruit juice. Now, like I said, today the judge finally came out with the real decision. Well, I don't, that's not my, see, this is the Channel Zero. The sad part about you is you're trying to once again find out whether she's being honest or not. That's not my job. That's not my job. I ain't here to find out whether she's being honest or not. She wrote a letter. Evidently, the judge wasn't swayed by the letter. Diddy is still in jail. What the title say? Diddy X flips. Flips on what? Flips on how she felt about when she was talking about what he did to her, to now writing a letter of support. That's the flip. The judge denies the $50 million bail again. You see the title? That we don't do clickbait, man. We doing real facts over here. Nah, I ain't going down with the diddler, man. You got to worry about where you go, what you doing that can't nobody see Comedy Blackout. A celebrity scandalous. It doesn't matter whether her letter was submitted under oath or not, right? She's writing a letter of support. Like I said, most of these people in here talking, man, they don't know a law book from a law clerk. You feel me? They don't know a law book from a law clerk. So they don't know what they're talking about, man. They only came here to create confusion, man. It's not going to work. Ma Dizzle, what's good? Absolutely. That's her, Mo Better. Absolutely, Mo Better. That's her experience. Like, none of us can say, like, yo, okay, cool. That's what she testified to. But like I said, once again, it is obvious. It is obvious. Gina testified that Diddy was taking care of her, right? Giving her money, the whole nine. I think he bought her a car, a bunch, and still just like he was taking care of Jane. So now, once again, you and him talking about Jane getting still paid $10,000 a month for her rent, and she came and testified against Diddy. They don't even talk about that. That's what I was trying to tell y'all earlier about how people kind of flip sides on what they believe. You see what I'm saying? So they talking about Gina. Oh yeah, she could be held in. No. Well, tell me about Jane then. How come she came to testify against Diddy, and he was paying her bill? She's supposed to be on Diddy team, right? Ain't she? I mean, talking about to the tune of $10,000 a month for rent, and Diddy sitting in jail. Shit, the person that's supposed to be really riding with Diddy, it was Jane. But that wasn't the case, was it? Why? He say, and 411 said Jane needs to be evicted. Fatima, Anna Lee, what'd you say? Anna Lee, absolutely. You see how people get it? They be so emotionally in their feelings and shit, innit? Like, Anna Lee asked her, she said, how y'all mad? She didn't testify. Like, wow. That's a grown woman. She could decide what she wanted to do. Absolutely. If she felt like the benefit was more in her favor not to, then she didn't do it. No. Like I said, once again, Marvin, we can't see how the judge gonna see it. Evidently, we can't see. Some people thought he was gonna get bail. Some people already said that the judge already decided on Friday. We don't know yet. We waiting to see, man. P-Funk, what's good? You mean Jane or Gina, Channel Zero? No. No, Brian Dow. That was something that Gina said that happened. That she said that he did buy her BM. That bought her car or something like that. But then, like I said, once again, when he would get mad, he'd take it away. Once again, the power move that we were talking about earlier. This is something that Gina testified to. Don't know if it's true, but leaning towards Cassie had a Jaguar, the apartment over in Westwood, and all of that. I take it to be, yeah. You know what I mean? Gina not coming to testify in court. I take it, yeah, Diddy was still taking care of her like he was taking care of Jane. I don't think that's something we reaching with that. You know what I'm saying? Her basically testifying for Diddy. Like I said, once again, I'm thinking that Gina, from what I understand and what I seen on her talking, I don't think that she ever, I could be wrong, that she ever participated in freak offs or nothing like that. I don't know. Young Miami had some things to say about something about her doing some things. Like I said, Young Miami might know a little bit more than we do, but that is what that is. At the end of the day, she wrote a letter supporting him. She went through some things with him. She said she aborted 2 babies. He kicked her and so on and so forth, and a whole bunch of other things she had said. But she found it in her heart to forgive Diddy enough to write a letter in support of him at this particular time. And like I said, put yourself in Diddy's shoes. If you went through something like that, you know what I mean? If you want to, really walk in that world, and as far as that's concerned, and your ex submitting a letter to the judge saying, you know what, I still love him. He made some mistakes. We went through our shit. You know what I mean? He sound like he's rehabilitated, and he sound like he's a little bit better than what he was. Now he stopped using drugs. I mean, all of those things are to be considered. Tell him JP6 Gunner over here, Straight Game. We followed the gavel to gavel coverage since day one, not just news stories. That's what they forget. Like, they coming over here like we like we can be influenced by just rhetoric and what's in it. Like I said, we did not do the Tisa Tells, come up with your own narrative and notion and stay away from the actual transcripts. We followed that day in and day out. So, like I said, the people over here are a little bit more informed than what they're talking about in the media. That's why they're quick to jump towards what Tisa Tells is saying, because, like I said, once again, she didn't care about being factual. She just wanted to be first. You understand that? Tisa Tells did not care about being factual or about anything. She just wanted to be first. It worked for her. Like I said, but the numbers have been dwindling a little bit. Yeah, no Fox News over here. No, we wasn't doing. But the numbers have been dwindling over there at Tisa Tells, man. They going down. People are starting to catch on. Like I told you guys, as we know, JP6 Gunner, Rain G4, Brian Dow, Annan Lee, P-Funk, Winter, who else? Dia M, Fatima. We've been over here since day one. So like I said, you can't come over here and tell us nothing because we were watching it. And if you want to recap, you can go back on the old lives that we did for about 30, 40 days ago when the trial was going on. Malcolm Harper in the building. What's good? Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones said Tisa Tells going to hell. I don't know about that, but like I said, Tisa needs to stop lying, though. You know what I mean? Tisa needs to stop lying like that. She just fluently tells a lie. I'm like, wow, like, man, you got the people listening to you. Why don't you just give them some facts? You know what I'm saying? But like I say, once again, it's about the sensationalism, the clickbait titles. Now you see the newest title of the video that she did, that Diddy's, afraid for his life or something like that. She does not know these things. She only makes those titles like that, hoping to gain more views. But once again, the algorithm is catching on. Once the algorithm catches on, it's like, you know what? This shit is fluff. You know what I mean? The algorithm is not going to push that. Malcolm Harper was good. Raquel Jackson was good. Yeah. Huh, Yaya? Tell him, Yaya. DJ Crazy K, what's good? Hey, who is that? Who you talking about, Ann 411? You say if she would have been a real one, it would have went a lot better for her. Who is that? Oh yeah. Oh, you talking about Tisa? Okay, right. Yeah. Tisa. Like I said, once again, like I said, you go over there right now, man, and you look on the thing, and you see clearly. It's like, what? What's going on? Nothing. Diddy afraid for his life right now. Bail officially denied. Right? No, you said Friday was denied. Now it's officially denied. Once again, just speaking and saying anything and not really caring, right? There you have it. But for the people over there, Tisa tells, well, you know, she was clairvoyant. She had a what they call it. She had a crystal ball. She seen from Friday to Monday. She knew the judge was going to deny it, right? You know, now she could go, but she don't need to put out a video that says that. It's crazy. Channel Zero, he's still reaching, or she's still reaching. That's why he called Channel Zero. See, you shouldn't have a name like Channel Zero. We're coming with zero information. Who are they? Who's accusing somebody of perjury? What are you talking about? Channel Zero, help us out, man. We trying to understand where you coming from, man. He said Malcolm Harper. Nah, like I said, Malcolm, I don't think he becoming a beggar. I just think, you know, he trying to do what he got to do, man, put in that situation. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, Tisa something, man. Like I said, whether she show her face or not, it really doesn't matter. Once again, the lies have just become so prevalent, and I don't think it's working no more, man. You know, she reports on these different stories, but it usually it's just some kind of exaggeration. Nah, you got it, Malcolm Harper. You got it. You like I said, it ain't wasting bread. It's like not if you got it. You know what I mean? It's all part of. The lawyers get paid hourly, man. They don't get paid per motion. They get paid hourly, and so you know what I mean. If they on the case, they on the case. He got like I said, he got Alexandria Shapiro. She's a monster, man. She's a great attorney. Teeny Gergos, he got some good lawyers. Like I said, you see that he beat most of the serious charges. You know what I mean? So I'm not even going to, like I said, once again, the judge has a right to see things the way he needs to see them. And hopefully Diddy, you know, gets the point and tries to rehabilitate himself and makes himself better from this. Well, like I said, when you've been given immunity and the person that decides whether you're lying or whether you perjure yourself is the person that's prosecuting, I don't think they're going to turn around and prosecute you. I mean, that's already been said. So, you know what I mean? As far as the prosecution, those are the only people that can file charges. And you see they fired Maureen Comey, you know. So she was the head prosecutor, not only in Diddy case, but also in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Yeah, but, you know, like Fatima, like I said, they're not going to charge. They're not going to charge the witnesses that they gave immunity to. That's why they gave them immunity, so you can't charge them. If you gave them immunity, the government can't turn around and charge them with anything. So that's fighting up a crazy hill. No, it wasn't that Boosie. It wasn't Boosie that Boosie couldn't beat his charges. Boosie said to him, he said, man, I got tired of fighting, so he took a plea. I mean, that's to each and everybody own, man. I wish Boosie the best. OOTA on the go. What's good? Bobby Jones, Ann and Lee, Celebrity Scandalous, Malcolm Harper, Killer Rob 123, Fatima, Reed. Nah, I don't own the Art of Dialogue. Art of Dialogue own the Art of Dialogue. But like I said, if you want some real facts in regards to what's going on and the insight, like I said, he got Daniel Phillips, who testified in court, along with Clayton Howard, who is suing Cassie. And they over there keeping it 100, like I said. So if you haven't checked out the Art of Dialogue, you should go over there and check it out. I mean, I like to gather the information, man, you know, from the people who were actually there and like, okay, cool. So I can make an informed decision. I don't read between lines, man. I don't do that. No, it's not what Puff had coming. I don't know what he had coming. I'm talking about the facts, not my feelings. See, once again, Channel Zero, when you say that, you're talking about somebody's feelings and what they feel they might know and all of this, that, and the other. I stated my position. Like I said, because you feel a certain way, that don't mean I have to adopt your feelings. If you feel like you've been around the industry and you know, then you feel like you know. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't do that though. Yeah, like I said, we're going to see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. But more importantly, like I said, we got what we got? Who we got? And 411, Michi, OTTA on the go, Killer Rob 123, Raquel Jackson, Dia M. Who else, man? Who else we got up in here, man? Brian Dial, Sporty Doo-Wop, Marvin Thompson, Mar Dizzle, Bobby Jones, Anna Lee Kells, Celebrity Scandalous, Channel Zero, everybody who tuned in tonight, man. Like I said, once again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your feedback. And like I said, your boy Delray in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Straight Game TV. Peace.
Life is like some cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.